Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Hello, everybody. I am Ross Morasso, and welcome to the show. My guest today, Lauren Stinnett, Chief Organizing Officer at her company called Order in Your Court. You can find her at orderinyourcourt.com, and she specializes in something that we all, or most of us, desperately need, but few of us know how to actually get it accomplished. She is a professional organizer for your home, for your businesses, for various spaces that you have, and even for your life. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ross. Thanks for having me. Excuse me. Let me clear my throat.
Sure. So, when we talk about, organizing our life and organizing our habits and our homes and stuff like that, like we all can kind of agree or probably think like, yeah, I could probably be a little cleaner, a little more organized, but you seem to take this to an entirely different level. Tell us what Order in Your Court is really all about.
Well, Order in Your Court is all about home, office, and life organizing. Home, we can guess what that means. Makes sense. Office, very similar, but in your office space. What does life organizing mean? We can help with if your family's calendar is all over the place, if your office calendar is all over the place, we can help get those back on track. If you need assistance with, you have a big group coming in town, a family reunion, we can help organize all those daunting tasks that come with it. Maybe we need a big venue for the gathering. Maybe we need to shuttle 50 people from the airport to a home or to a venue for the event. We're happy to organize all of those things: ground transportation, airfare, restaurant reservations. We've even done birthday parties. So I come from an event planning background, so I have the knowledge and skills and all of that. So we are happy to help with any of that and get your life organized, and not just your physical things, your what's up in your head. Get it down on paper, get it out on, wherever it needs to be to get it organized.
Right. So what would you say to somebody who was like, oh no, I have it all up here, but then, you kind of take a look at their life, what's the value of getting things out of your head?
Oh my gosh. Maybe more sleep, less anxiety, less stress, less worry. I was actually on a consultation yesterday, and I asked him that exact question. He's in his mid 60s. He's retired from the corporate world, but he's still very active. And he has all of these files and all of these deals he is involved in right now up in his head. We don't want anything to happen, but what if something we call it a Mack truck, experience. What if something were to happen? We need to have all those documents in order for his work, for his family, for himself. So I was talking with him yesterday, and I was like, does it bother you that it's all up in your head? Or are you okay with that? And he's like, no, I just worry that I'm going to forget something because I'm getting older, and, I have more important things to worry about than that document. So we came up with a plan yesterday, and we're going to work with him on saving all these emails and files and all these things that he needs, both physical, because that's what he wants. He says, I'm that generation, so I need a physical piece of paper, which is fine. So we'll organize all of that. We'll organize it on his computer and an external hard drive in the World Wide Web, if you will. So yes, get it out of your head. You will feel so much better. You will know where things are when you need them. And it's just less worry, less stress of trying to have to remember everything, because no one can.
You mentioned a metaphor there called the Mack truck. So is that basically like if something happens in our life, like let's say I'm some CEO that takes me out of work, which doesn't necessarily have to be my personal injury or illness or something. I mean, it could be an unexpected client meeting and I have to go across the world. Maybe if I got some big company, I'm gone for 3 weeks that I wasn't expecting, but it's like I got to get out of town now, you know. And so,
Yeah,
is that event to make sure that other people can pick up the slack for you?
exactly. People get worried about having your process so streamline in a someone can pick up in any moment because they want their job or their role to be valued for what they have. But that is, I mean, all the way from a CEO down to, the janitorial staff. Everyone is so important playing a role in every single day. If something were to happen, anybody needs to be able to pick up and keep the business or your family going. So having those processes and procedures and roles and responsibilities in place, that's not that you're going to access them every day, but they're there and they're readily available and they're organized. So someone could pick up if needed.
You know, you hear sometimes you even see it in movies and stuff, and you'll see this just completely cluttered up area, and the person will be like, "Oh, but it all makes sense to me,"
Yeah.
and I wonder sometimes if that's you know just an excuse for us to not want to get disorganized. When you work with your clients, do you ever find like a resistance when they actually get down to the meat and potatoes of doing the work of organizing? Because I would imagine in the beginning, there is some openness. Obviously, they reached out to you, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now that they're actually in the work, how tell us, like, what should we expect if we do that? Should we, well, is it a confronting process or a freeing process, or is there's, like our 5 stages of grief?
Yeah.
These stages to
Oh,
organization? Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely a process. There's for some people that really don't want their things touched.
Mm,
Um, there's a huge process for them before I even come into the picture. Maybe they're talking to other friends and family or other people that have hired or professional organizers. Maybe they're doing research online. Maybe they've had 2 or 3 conversations with me and they're working their way towards allowing us in. And then once we're actually there is a big process of letting a stranger handle your personal items. So, or going through your files. People worry that we're going to remember everything and judge, and we don't do any of that. We're there to help. And, we help doctors and lawyers. And so we see a lot of personal, sensitive stuff. We have contracts in place, what we see, we don't talk about. It's your things. So it's a big um, process of us coming in and actually going through the items. So what does that look like? Every client is different. Everyone grieves differently, like you mentioned. So
mm,
everyone goes through these processes differently. A piece. I had a client, and we were going through paper, and I was like, "Oh, you don't." Let me turn that down. You don't need this piece of paper, do you? Because it just had one pen line on it. Well, come to find out, that one pen line was of her autistic son
mm.
had drawn his first straight line. That's very important. That's very special. So there's things that we might not understand, but till we have that conversation with the client, then we know what things are important and what, and we go through that too with them. I'll have a lot of initial conversations, and I can learn just by having a few words with them why we're physically there going through their stuff, what's important to them and what really doesn't matter. And so that will help the process too.
Is there a um, strategy, like, or when you first talk with people, this is still on businesses mainly, but actually for the home, this makes sense too. Is there a conversation in the early stages of sort of like, what would you like your house or office to be presented as? Like, what are you going for?
Oh, yeah. We talk about goals. We talk about immediate goals. We talk about long term goals, and what that looks like for each client, each space. So everybody's different. They want to say, And we talk about pain points too. If they're like listing off everything in the home or everything in the office, like I
Mm.
need help with all of these, tomorrow. Well, let's start with those pain points. So, what really drives you nuts? What can you not stand? What makes you lose sleep at night? Let's start there. So, that's usually spaces that are used most often: kitchen, master bedroom. Um, Maybe it's the living room that's turned into an office that's been turned into a kid's playroom. It's just, become chaos. So, we talk about that and finding what's really, really important to them, and what they want it to look like. And maybe they're not so completely sure what they want to look like, but us talking through that, we come up with a plan and a goal.
Yeah, I remember when my children were little, I think my website would have been more like the wild jungle in my court.com.
There,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. A lot of people have those too. I mean, I have a 2-year-old, and I will come home and see the living room. Like, what happened to the living room? Everything should um, be in its place. But he's 2 years old, so yes, everything is chaos.
Can we work with you like at a maintenance level? So let's say you come in and we get everything where we want it, but I've been reading a little bit about you, and then surprise, surprise to all of us, just because we organize something once, turns out it often doesn't stay that way. So can like and then this dovetails into a second thing. You're in Dallas, so do I
Mhm.
also have to be in Dallas to work with you?
No, not necessarily. I can do virtual, and we fly and drive to many different places. So we primarily do the DFW Metroplex, but I mean, Texas is very big, but we go to
Yeah.
Houston, we go to Austin, we go to San Antonio, El Paso. We go to a lot of. I was in Oklahoma on Monday doing a garage, so we go all over the place. And in December, we were in Colorado. So wherever you need us, we will come. We will make it work. We've worked with a family here and gone and packed a family member in where was it? Oh, Massachusetts, and brought them back to Texas and got them organized. So we really have no parameters and limits. I'm always a phone call away, text message, email, FaceTime, Zoom. There's many options that we can help you get organized. And we do maintain um, our clients too, if that's something that they're interested in. The guy I mentioned yesterday that we're talking about all the paper and having all in his head. Once we get him all set up, we decided to do a quarterly maintain. So we'll come in, make sure everything's still on track. If there's anything that needs to be put in its place, then we'll do that. So that works for him and it works for us. So about physical stuff, it just really, how much do you use it? Are you in it every day? Then you might need a refresh maybe every 2 weeks. It just really depends on the space. Who all is using it? Are they putting it back in the right space?
Mm.
So it just really depends how much it's used and who all is using it. I probably refresh my pantry probably every 2 months. So it just really depends, and maybe there's something I created in a system that's not working in that space, so we need to rethink it. So there's a bunch of different reasons why you maintain.
Those of you who tuned in here, not at the beginning of the show, I'm talking with Lauren Stinnett, the Chief Organizing Officer at OrderInYourCourt.com, and she specializes in organizing anything and everything, whether it comes to a section of your house, a part of your business, or even single events, so that you can enjoy that in a more stress-free manner. Now, in terms of uh, one of the most unusual things, I'd like to hear, like, what was one of the more unusual requests that you had from one of your clients? And the reason I'm asking this, everybody, is not just because I want to gossip. I think that a lot of us are probably a little bit more alike than we think. And so let's talk off the deep end a little bit. Like, what did you find one of the more wilder projects you got to take on?
Hmm. Well, you mentioned the word wild, and that just triggered a memory, a client. He was a huge hunter,
Okay.
is a huge hunter. And he needed help helping organize all his trophies, meaning the animals, um, the hides, the everything that he has hunted and they call them trophies. They're not, the trophies you got in baseball. They're the actual animal, or a replica of the animal. And he needed help with that. They were, these very prized and expensive pieces that he just kind of had shoved into his man cave and he wasn't getting to enjoy it. So we went in there and helped him, where should we mount some of these? So it wasn't specifically organizing like you would organize t-shirts. We were helping him organize these trophies either onto a wall or preserving them in the proper way, or maybe that was actually his son's trophy, so let's get it to his son in Houston. So you said wild, that kind of triggered me on that. And a lot of people don't agree with hunting, but it's just it's was fun and entertaining when all these eyeballs were looking on you and you're organizing them. That was special, definitely a fun memory. We've had guys that have collect our big video gamers,
Hmm.
and learning all about that stuff because I am not one. I think it's cool, but there's all these different screens and parts and controllers and chairs and all this cords and all these stuff. So everyone has a hobby or a niche or something they love and are passionate about and probably might have excess of it. So we can help with that and get it organized so you can use all those things properly.
Let me ask you about that. So collectibles, right? Is that something else that people have figurine collections or other things, that they've spent a life, trying to acquire, and probably a lot of those things sometimes can be of quite value. Have you ever picked a room and then made sure that you could present all of their collectibles for their hobby?
Yeah, yeah. It kind of becomes, we always say man cave, but it can be any type of cave, a woman's cave, a kid's cave, whatever you want to display your passion is, there's definitely done that. We had an older lady who collected clocks. Um,
Okay.
so that was just a couple weeks ago, actually. So we helped her display because she had them in boxes. Some of them weren't working, so we pulled all those and we had helped her get the ones that weren't working fixed. And maybe she needed to retire some of them or try to sell some of them. So we helped her go through that process. So there's no limit. People think, oh, that's so people are going to judge me because I collect X. We do not care. That is your passion. We think it's cool. And we're happy to help. But anything, shoes are a big thing. Sneakers are huge right now. A lot
So
of people,
so some people have like like I've got my Nike kicks and there's only 50 of these in the world or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah. So we have a lot of clients that collect sneakers, and that maybe we've had to turn literally a bedroom into an additional closet space just for the sneaker collection, which is really cool. I love shoes, so that's fun. But then there's me that can get rid of anything. And I'm like, why do we have all these sneakers? Let's talk about this. So, but the collectibles and I don't want to use the word hoarding because it's not hoarding, but um, holding on to something that maybe doesn't have a value. Those are two totally different things. So that's very important to remember when you're going through the organizing process.
So sometimes with these collectibles, it's not about presenting them. It's about maybe just making sure that you can ensure that they're put in a place where they're protected and out of the way.
Yeah. And if they're not out and you're not enjoying them, then why are we holding on to them? Let's let the space be something other than a clock room, if you're not in there enjoying them.
It's got me thinking like it's maybe in creating a structure where you get on a rotation, right? So because maybe you have too much to present at once, but maybe every month or two, you kind of rotate your things that end up in a room.
Exactly. And we do that. We suggest that a lot with children's toys. They get
Mm.
toys for Christmas, for their birthday, for holidays from grandma who can't stop going to Target and buying a present every time she sees her grandkids. They have an excessive amount of toys. Most Americans have an excessive amount of things these days. So we suggest putting toys in rotation because when they're all out and kids have access to anything and everything at the same time,
Mm.
they play with the same thing over and over again. And you're like, why am I keeping this? I want to get rid of it. Well, they forgot it was there. They couldn't find it. So when you rotate those pieces, it's like getting something new every single day, or not every single day, every time you rotate it, every 3 months or whatever it is.
And it can probably start to spark the imagination and creativity of your kids.
Absolutely.
In businesses, do you find sometimes that a lot of businesses have, awards and plaques and certificates that they're just sort of sitting in a pile?
Yes. Oh yeah. They've worked, our older clients that have worked for companies for 25, 30 years have gotten all these awards, and they're like collecting dust. And they're like, I like them, but I mean, I don't need them. So maybe that's when we take a picture of each one with the client holding it. Um, and we can print those pictures off and put them in a book and allow them to write that memory. Like, this was in 1992 when I won most sales, or had the highest sales for that year. So there's many things you can, and then it's in a book and you can refer back to it and people can look at it too, but it's not a glass dust collector of all your trophies.
Yeah, interesting, because there's two like categories of, I mean, there's probably in your mind many, many categories of organizing, but these two archetypes that I'm kind of thinking of. One is get things to be functional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had a closet or a pantry or something like that. And I can see there's an art to that too. But then on the other side of it, when you're dealing with presentation, you're now diving into like interior design, right? Because it's not just about getting it up on the wall. So do you dive into that sort of whole concept too? As soon as things start to show up in a space, that now impacts everything else or the space as a whole. So do you find yourself doing like interior design sort of
Oh,
along
yeah.
with?
Yes. Yeah. We help with that a lot. We'll help with clients get their house ready to put on the market. So that's a couple stages. So we help purge, declutter, sell items if we need to, and then we help stage. Um, Depending on the level of staging that, maybe I bring in their real estate agent that is excellent at that. A lot of real estate agents have their own staging company. So, we'll bring them in for that. But if it's just kind of cleaning up the shelving, or let's take down that personal family photo because it's about to go on to market, and let's hang this pretty art piece that's been sitting in the attic for 5 years. So when prospective buyers come into your home, they can visualize their family there, and not see yours. So there's different things that we do. When we've reorganized offices, we've helped with the shelving and desks and everything like that. Bringing in live plants, helping pick out rugs and pillows and things like that. So yeah, we don't go to a crazy level. And if I need that crazy level, I work with a wonderful interior designer and I'll bring her in if I need to when we take it to that level.
Oh, okay. So you really have like a full array of sort of anything that I would need to get like stuff ready for my house if I was trying to actually sell it.
Absolutely. Yes. Working with later today, I have a client, and we are beautiful home, but she just, the closet's not right. It's not a gut job. We don't need to totally rebuild the closet, but we need some additional shelving. We don't want to just put in, wire shelving from Container Store or IKEA or whatever that is. Someone is at the front door. I so apologize.
Yes, our inanimate objects are talking to us more and more these days.
They really are. Um, I'm bringing in our woodworker, and he's going to come in and add additional shelves that match the home. So,
Mm,
we're adding in a few shelving to make it more functional for her. She's also a real estate agent, so she sees the value of doing it right the first time. So if she does ever put her house on the market, when she does, it'll be ready to go, and it's not just wood or plastic shelf that we just threw in there. So I work with a ton of great vendors that I've vetted, and they understand the importance of what I do, and not just putting any old shelf in there. We need a good stable shelf that's big enough to hold a bin. We think about those
mm.
through the process.
It's interesting. We've heard, probably at one time or another, a lot of us, except maybe you, Lauren, have, we get ready to move or something, and then we kind of have our cynical realization of, I'm getting my house amazing for somebody else.
Yep. It's
What?
wild, isn't it?
Why didn't I ever just do this for myself and enjoyed it more while I was here? So we only have a couple of minutes left. Let me
Yeah.
ask you, because when you talk about staging, and I think that it's a longer conversation, but as mortgage interest rates went up over the last half 2022, we're now
Mm-hmm.
seeing some of this downward pressure on prices on homes. And so
Mm-hmm.
what would be, if you could pick, you probably got a lot, but if you had to pick one mistake and one good trick to do when you are staging your home, for those of us listening?
Okay, one mistake. Um, Mistake, I would probably say not decluttering. Um,
So showing a house, it's a pigsty.
yes, people are going to think you don't. If this is what the innards look like, then there's no way you're taking care of it as a home. Um,
So for getting price, you're just going to actually have potential buyers completely walk without even an offer.
yeah, yeah, unless you get an investor that comes in there that just wants to knock it down and
Mm.
put a McMansion up, you know. Um, that's probably my mistake, not decluttering it. When people see that you value this home, that you love this home, they're going to see their life there too. There's more of a potential for doing that. I would say that would be my mistake. A lot of people say it doesn't matter. I don't care. I just want to sell it
Mm.
for whatever I can do, and that's fine too. Maybe you don't have the time, but that's when you can call us. We can help you with the time. And then your other question, you
Was
mistake.
just in what's one thing that you like to do? Like what's one tech? Like I don't care what the house is. If I'm staging it, I'm definitely going to make sure we do this.
Oh, we're definitely going to. I, me personally, and my experience in working with realtors,
Yeah.
we definitely take less personal photos down.
Oh, take some personal photos down off of
Yeah.
the house, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that makes it feel like I'm walking in. This could be my house, but for every
Yep.
personal photo I see, it's reminding me it's not my house.
It's not my house, and I don't know. I don't. Yeah.
That is a beautiful answer. Like I never would have thought of that. That's exactly why I asked. I think that's a very it would be missed. And I could see a lot of people maybe disagreeing
Yeah.
with that, but like you're the one with the experience. I think it's definitely food for thought. So Lauren Stinnett, Chief Organizing Officer at orderinyourcourt.com. You can find her other contact information there. Give her a look up, Lauren. You're welcome back to the show anytime you want to come. I'm really getting a kick out of having you here. Thank you so
Very
much for
good.
being with us.
Thanks for having me. Y'all have a great day.
You too. And thank you all for tuning in. I'm Ross Marasso. Until next time.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.